Devlog just isn't your thing.
I locked both cats away so I could do this quickly. I only have a brief period of time. Oh, all right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. So, as you can see, this is Devlog 4 for Malicious Mages, a project where Devlog 3 came out many years ago. This project has an interesting history, and I'm going to go into it a little bit here. But we're going to try to make this recap of events quick, because I've tried to make this devlog like 6 times over the last 3 years. If you're a fellow indie developer struggling to find the balance between working on your game and making a devlog, I'm sure you can understand the struggle. When you're working on a game and trying to make a devlog, it's hard to find the right balance. You have to be careful not to turn your devlog into this massive production, otherwise you'll just get so swamped working on it that you'll feel bad for not working on your game. And I feel like that's kind of what happened on this devlog. I literally probably edited 80% of the devlog like 6 times, but then I made more progress on the game to where it just, I don't know, it didn't feel right to upload it or keep working on it because I just wanted to keep working on the game. And then by the time I decided to do another devlog, 6 months had passed or something crazy like that. So all that being said, we're just going to get into it. I'm going to kind of quickly go over the history of this project, what it was and what it turned into now. And yeah, we'll go from there. It feels like this devlog has been such a hurdle for me because there's so much context about this project to where there's so much I'm working on now that I just want to talk about what I'm working on now. It doesn't really make sense. So anyway, let's go back in time, shall we? In 2017, I was in college studying game development, and I went through a pretty bad breakup. I needed something to get my mind off of it, as well as a project to help increase my skills. At that time, I had finished my first game, Hughscape, and released it on the App Store. So I had that adrenaline rush of finishing a video game. You know, I had so much fun doing it, and I wanted another project that was a little bit more challenging. You know, I felt like I was this hotshot developer, so I'm going to make this big game with a story and multiplayer and all this stuff. Keep in mind, at this point, I had only been making games for like, I don't know, a year. So I started work on a game called Malicious Mages. It was this small 2.5D couch co-op multiplayer game where you would select a character that could have these unique abilities and you'd compete with your friend to capture this orb and bring it back to your side of the level. It was really inspired by Nidhogg, which was like this game where it's like this big tug-of-war platformer kind of game. Me and my friends really enjoyed it, and basically like in college me and my friends played all these couch co-op party games, and I really enjoyed playing those games with them, and I wanted to make my own. I got quite a bit of progress done on it. I got 2 characters working. I made 3 devlogs on this channel about it. You can find them over there. I finished enough of it to be satisfied and moved on to other projects because it was college. When you're going through college, you change projects every week. So I worked on many other things, not many of them finished. Fast forward to December 2020. I had been in a new relationship for a few years. I graduated college in the middle of a pandemic. I moved in with a buddy from college, moved in with another buddy from college. I got my first job in the game industry. And at that point, I had switched back and forth through so many projects. I'm just gonna have a list of all their names go on the screen. At that point, I had been on so many projects that I desperately wanted to finish one. If you remember earlier, I mentioned that in 2017, I had finished my first game, Hughscape, and I had never finished anything since then. I've worked on countless games, but not finished one. I even worked on a sequel to Hughscape for a while. There's a couple devlogs here about that, that never really got finished. After starting so many new projects, I told myself that I wanted to go back and finish one that I had started before. I remembered that funny little mage game from 2017 and decided I wanted to reboot it and continue working on it. Restarted it from the ground up in December 2020, going into 2021. And I even hired some friends to help here and there. I hired my buddy Dalton to make this amazing environment. He also did the model for a character called Robo Mage. I kept generally the same design, made all new 3D models for characters, and made a very solid prototype. I hired Allison Burke of TikTok fame to play the main character. Got a kick-ass soundtrack, t-shirts. I even took it to a local game festival and we held a tournament. It was going really good. And then my smart self decided it would be a good idea to add online multiplayer to this game, which was a couch co-op local multiplayer game at the end of the prototype's development. You know anything about multiplayer development? Trying to tack on online multiplayer to something that's not already multiplayer is an insanely difficult thing to do. Ended up getting burnt out a little bit. This is January 2022. I've been working on this version of the game for about a year and a half, 2 years. I got so burnt out on the online multiplayer that I made this big public post saying that that feature's cut and I'm not going to do online multiplayer. Instead, I put all my focus into the story mode, and I got a lot of really cool progress there with dungeon mechanics and puzzles and stuff. So keep in mind, this was during the pandemic. The only way you could really hang out with your friends were online multiplayer games, and you could kind of play the game online with Parsec, but it wasn't the same. You needed an insanely good internet connection, and it was so limited. I also had some issues just with the design of the game overall that I was kind of not liking. We'll go into detail a little bit more on that later. Cut to June 2022. I've been laid off from my first game industry job, and I'm working at a gas station. Me and some friends host a game jam together. During that game jam, I make an online multiplayer shooter with some friends. It was this hide and seek game. And I had a lot of fun making it, and I learned so much about multiplayer that I decided that I wanted to make this my new main project. Goodbye, Malicious Mages. Friendship over with Malicious Mages. New friendship with Light 'em Up. So we turned it into this huge project with like 6 people working on it. It was a lot of fun. There's a few devlogs on the channel about it. I stopped everything on Malicious Mages and put all of my chips into Light 'em Up. We worked on that project for about a year and a half, and eventually most people from the project had to drop. They just got busy, life happened, just a bunch of stuff. So that's kind of where Light 'em Up was. Let's add a little bit of context to what's going on there. I got a new job in the game industry. My girlfriend moved to Australia. I grew a beard. My cat Tiff, the mascot from the Light 'em Up devlogs, unfortunately passed away. My barber accidentally stole my beard.
It chopped my shit off, and it looks like dude.
I got my own apartment. My girlfriend moved back to the States into what is now our apartment, and I adopted a baby kitten named Artemis. So you might be asking, this is a devlog, and you just said that you had a really hard time making this devlog and just getting it out there. Why are you talking so much about your personal life? Well, as a solo indie developer, your personal life and your development life kind of go hand in hand. Your bandwidth for development is directly proportional to your bandwidth for life. Just kind of adding that context. So people started dropping like flies from Light 'em Up. Man, I said. Man, I said louder. I had a really good thing going on Malicious Mages. It was so close. I got so much progress done on that game. It was looking pretty clean. That was a game. It was a video game. People played it. There was a tournament. Now I'm stuck on this multiplayer shooter, which having a lot of fun developing, but starting to feel like a sinking ship. I could just put all of my chips into it, finish it by myself, but that wasn't really the point of the project. It was a project I started with friends that we had fun making, and doing it by myself just didn't really feel the same. So at this point, I'm like, what's stopping me from going back to the project that was almost done? Nothing. Cut to September of last year. I'm at a work trip in Seattle where I got to meet most of my coworkers in person when I get a phone call saying that another person involved in Light 'em Up no longer had time to work on the project anymore. So right then and there, I decided that when I got home, I would continue work on Malicious Mages. I get back home to Arkansas, open up my laptop, and I start work on Malicious Mages after a almost 2-year break of not touching the project. Have you ever looked at a code base you haven't touched in 2 years and tried to continue work on it? It's like, what is all this? Why did you write it that way? Are you okay? It's not fun. It's really hard to go back into old code, dust it off, and keep working on it. That, and at the time, online multiplayer was a huge stipulation for me. It's some of my favorite games to play. and I really wanted Malicious Mages to have it. So I, again, continued to brute force multiplayer onto the existing framework, and it just wasn't working. That, and I had a bunch of issues with the design. It was a 2.5D game, so it kind of played like a 2D fighting game. I don't really play a lot of fighting games. I don't find that much enjoyment in them. I think they're fun to watch. I really enjoy watching my friends play fighting games, but if I get in there and play a fighting game, I'm just gonna be like mashing X. Whenever I would do these play tests on the game with people, most of the conversations became about frame data and like really quick reactions. I held a tournament, which, well, here I am saying I want a casual, fun party game, but I ran a tournament for the game, and people wanted just really quick reaction, snappy gameplay. In fact, people started to get frustrated playing the game because they just took it really seriously. It became a very competitive title, and that might be great for some people, but for me, that's not what I'm trying to develop. And if I'm going to go back here and put all of my chips into making a video game and finishing it, I want it to be a game that I would enjoy playing. So that was a very good, fun prototype, and I got a lot of data out of it, but at the end of the day, I decided to scrap it and start over. So I decided to take the theme of the game, or at least like the core, what it is, what I want it to be, being able to choose a character that has a unique ability, the capture the flag objective gameplay, as well as a casual multiplayer experience. And I decided to apply it to a new genre. I took two of my favorite video games that I enjoy playing, the Legend of Zelda franchise and the Halo franchise, and I just kind of mashed them together. So this new design has the adventure gameplay feel of Legend of Zelda, or at least like the core mechanics, but it is presented as though it is an arena shooter. So it's like Zelda and Halo had a baby. It focuses heavily on custom game lobbies as well as round-based gameplay. I took heavy inspiration from the lobby system in Halo 3, how it's just designed like as soon as you start the game, you can just see who's online, who's doing what. You can just click to join on them, build your lobby, start your game. Say that you get done playing one game mode, you just want to start the next, your lobby stays, you can just select the next thing. Given that this is an entirely new design and I wanted multiplayer to be involved from the very beginning, I started from the ground up on the code base. Well, sort of. Working on Light 'em Up, I got a lot of experience with multiplayer engineering. I developed a lot of really helpful systems and utilities during that project that I knew I was going to want and need in this new project. So I stripped Light 'em Up into its most basic multiplayer component and injected it into Malicious Mages as a foundation to start off of. Just gonna cross out Light 'em Up and write Malicious Mages. So I've spent the last 6 months building a solid back-end framework for the game. It's got a node-based action system for performing attacks and spells. It's got a generic game mode system that you can use to make whatever kind of game mode you want, as well as allow the user to save variants. And it's got a system for handling network lobbies and syncing player data. I've also spent a lot of time organizing and planning the project. Now that all that work is complete, I'm finally ready to get into the main gameplay front-end bits. I have so much stuff in the works with this game that I can't wait to make future videos about, and now that I've got this introductory devlog out of the way, I feel like I can just say, hey, here's an update on the project that I'm working on, because now you know what it is and how it's not that 2.5D game that I advertised heavily 2 years ago. Here's some teaser footage of some of the different mechanics and gameplay that I'm working on that may get me into trouble if I don't include those in the final. It's all work in progress. Some of this stuff might be cut, but here's what I've got so far. that's it. I finally had this video done after many years of trying to do this devlog. You now know the full history of Malicious Mages and where it's at right now and where it's going to be, hopefully. I'm not even kidding. I started the devlog so many times and just never did it, which I guess works out that I never did it for the last iteration because I've completely rebooted the project, so...
Hi, this is Thomas in post editing this video, and for a lot of the B-roll footage, I've been using one of the devlogs that I abandoned and didn't finish, and I'm looking back on this, like, it's got some really serious editing quality, so after I finish this video, I'm probably going to upload this, just so if you want a deeper look into what the previous iteration of this project looked like. This one also credits a lot of the people involved in making it a little bit more in detail. So after I finish this video, I'm probably going to upload it. Feel free to check that out.
Have you ever wanted to make a devlog on your project, but are struggling because it takes too much time? I think I've found the secret, finally. I mean, it really helped me do the light 'em up devlogs. Do it all in one day. Plan out what day you're going to do the devlog, and from the morning to night, have that devlog finished. Write your devlog script, and then plan to immediately get in front of the camera and record it. That way you have footage of yourself that you can splice in when you don't have anything interesting to show on screen, and then plan to immediately edit and upload it after, because if you spend even like 2 days on it, you'll feel like it's taking away from your development. So just go out and do it. Film it, write it, film it, record it, upload it. One day. Do it. Just don't turn your devlog into a big production, because overall it will eat your soul. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this, please go ahead and subscribe for more future updates on the project. I am so excited to finally be getting back into the meat and potatoes on this project, and I'm so excited to show you what I've got going on. Also, feel free to wishlist the game on Steam. I have a link in the description. You might notice that it's still kind of advertising the original design for the game. Once they have more polished looking gameplay to show, I'll update that page. I'll get a new trailer out. But yeah, that's it. I finished the devlog. Goodbye.